So we are just 2 days away from both Comedy Central and South Park Studios debuting their new event strictly on Paramount Plus, joining the Panderverse, which by the way mocks the current status of Hollywood and their woke agendas, as well as the concept of race swapping and gender swapping becoming the norm per Disney and other Hollywood studios out there, and even taking jabs at movies like Snow White, The Little Mermaid, and other elements of Disney thrown into the mix as well. We know that Trey Parker and Matt Stone are not going to back down, and they are already doubling down with making this into a 3-part series, or event if you will. This is Mike Zero. Subscribe if you're new and like this video to see future updates. I'm also on Twitter at Mike01. I thank you also very much for the great and kind support. Now, one thing that is truly shocking is the fact that we know that Comedy Central and the Disney heads recently got caught up in a lot of legal meetings. Disney was getting very furious and angered over what they were doing with pointing fingers at Disney and creating a parody on them. And even to the point where Disney is actually, even after losing those legal battles, or those legal warnings and those meetings that took place, where they had no say in the matter, mind you, because parody is under fair use. There is nothing that Disney could do, but they tried. They tried to find a way around it, they could not. And this is where they get desperate. But what also is very surprising is what Parker and Stone are now up to that's going to literally destroy Disney, and I don't see how they could survive this. Let's tap into all of this, shall we? Now, with both Comedy Central and South Park Studios recently involved with multiple legal meetings with the Disney heads after they created unnecessary trouble that led nowhere, one major development has to do with how both Trey Parker and Matt Stone are about to mock Disney in the best way possible that will easily outperform their Panderverse special. As it turns out, one aspect of their upcoming dedicated Disney episode that got greenlit by the Comedy Central heads after Parker and Stone made a big pitch is that they are now moving forward with creating a full-on parody of the 2 Snow White movies releasing in 2024 that will essentially mock Rachel Zegler's version of Snow White and will include Brett Cooper's interpretation of the character in a new South Park skit within this new Disney dedicated episode that will also involve 2 Mickey Mouses, such as Steamboat Mickey and Mr. Mouse, as depicted previously in South Park going head-to-head. This was made aware ahead of time by Comedy Central to the Disney higher-ups and even the legal team on their part, as they reassured them that this is pure parody and that there will be no need for further legal trouble or meetings to take place that will only lead to wasting people's time. Additionally, South Park is also getting prepared to mock Disney's interpretation of how they are incorrectly using the 7 dwarfs in their upcoming Snow White film, and that Parker and Stone are now fully working on a parody of what Disney calls them as the 7 magical creatures. So, we remember a couple months ago, those leaked photographs went wild and went viral. All across the board, online, on the internet, in mainstream media, it was everywhere. And that's why Snow White 2024 is so universally rejected, is that everybody is aware about the Snow White drama, not just regular people going online to get their fix of what's happening with this film, but also just regular people that don't necessarily tune into the internet or anything like that kind of drama spewing everywhere, and they are just fully aware about this because it was everywhere on the news, on television, on radio, and just everywhere. You could not escape it. So this is exactly why Comedy Central is embracing this, and they are taking full advantage of creating a pure parody of their interpretation of the 7 magical creatures, as Disney likes to call them, in the upcoming live-action remake. Now, Comedy Central knew that they could not pass this up in the recent pitch held by Parker and Stone, since they saw, of course, Snow White as the golden opportunity, given that the fiasco is so large and widely known due to its, of course, ongoing presence in the mainstream media for months, now reaching nearly everyone around the globe. Both the Disney heads and even the creators behind Snow White 24 are reportedly furious about these recent developments that both Comedy Central and South Park Studios made fully aware to Disney, to the point that Their drama happening behind the scenes at Disney is so large, it has been rattling throughout all of the studio about their concern on how this is going to hurt their business with the concept of swapping of race and gender, and future plans of diverting from source material in new live-action remakes, such as their upcoming Bambi movie and Sword in the Stone, as well as Hercules, all of which will divert from source material in one way or another. Both of which will be abandoning, of course, other elements as well. Director Mark Webb and Greta Gerwig, the writer of Disney's Snow White, are already beginning to call out and go against South Park in light of this happening behind the scenes. Trey and Matt are already in the planning stages of the story and plan to release it sometime by next year, though it's unclear if this mocking of the two Snow Whites will release around each film, or more toward the very tail end of next year. And about that, by the way, guys, I know a lot of you have been asking, what is going on with the Daily Wire's version of Snow White called Snow White and the Evil Queen? Now, one would think, yes, it's going to be releasing on the exact same day as Disney's Snow White. I don't see that happening. They're so far behind right now, to the point where they have a lot to go to finish making this movie and to make it happen. I don't expect the Daily Wire's Snow White maybe until like June or July, if you really want to be lucky there even. So I think that South Park is choosing the right time frame here by not necessarily dropping this immediately by the end of this year. They're waiting until 2024, and I could really see Trey and Matt choosing to throw this dead smack in the middle of each release. One by Disney, one by Daily Wire. And you know, how ironic. Here we are, it is 2023 again, and we are pretty much back to 2012, where two Snow White movies released. I don't know if you guys knew this. Two Snow White movies back in 2012. We had Mirror Mirror, which I feel was more dedicated to the source material, and also we had the Snow White and the Huntsman film with Kristen Stewart, alright, which really kind of was its own thing that diverted from the material again. So I think that out of all of those that released back in 2012, Mirror Mirror was probably superior than the Kristen Stewart one. But here we are, a similar situation in 2024, up and coming. It's gonna be a big deal. The fact that we have these two Snow Whites headbutting, and how South Park is fully prepared now to create a full-on parody of not just the two Snow Whites, but also the way that Disney is treating and interpreting the Seven Dwarfs in Snow White 2024. We know that this movie is going to be, if not the biggest box office failure of all time within Disney. If it's not going to be that, it most certainly will be a very bad one in recent times. At least within the past decade. It's going to be that level of bad. So overall, I think that Parker and Stone are very smart. They know exactly what's in demand right now. They know exactly what they have to take advantage of. And that's why this Panderverse episode, or this event by the way, is so wildly popular, where people are literally hopping on board a Paramount Plus and subbing to them immediately. So anyway, guys, drop a comment below. Fill me in below in the comments what you all have to say about this. And if you guys did enjoy the content for today, make sure to drop a thumbs up on this video to support the channel, and I will catch you guys later.